Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 7 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Luo Feng sat there drinking, not paying any attention to the vice president of the Blood Python Association. Having enclosed himself in the Land of Origin for over an era, he had fully developed his perfect divine body to its pinnacle on one hand, and on the other hand, he had preliminarily mastered many secret techniques, turning his potential into strength to some extent. He was no longer limited to the lone move, Blade of Life and Death, that he had used when he confronted He Duomo. Now, Luo Feng was itching for a challenge, eager to encounter more formidable opponents. Within Huyang City, the truly powerful experts could be rated as the top few of the 5 great families, the leaders of the 19 dark forces, as well as some leaders of superpowers in the local divisions of Huyang City, or some reclusive old oddities. Luo Feng preliminarily identified his sufficiently strong opponents based on the information given by his friend Shong Qianyang. Those opponents, they were the ones who ignited Luo Feng's fighting spirit. The Vice President, Limo, of the Blood Python Association, merely a vice president within a faction of the Dark Forces, how strong could he be? Supreme Lord Luo He, does the Vice President come here personally to visit you? The member of the Blood Python Association trembled with fear, worried about being scolded by the Vice President during the report. Luo Feng's gaze pierced through the temple doors to the far distance. Your Vice President has heard everything loud and clear. If the formation of the Orchid Star Hall had blocked sound, naturally the outside world could not pry. But Luo Feng did not conceal anything. With the formation of the Orchid Star Hall wide open, everything he said could be seen and heard by any eternal true god who had an interest in observing this place. Yes, this subordinate will take his leave. The member of the Blood Python Association, overwhelmed with fear, quickly left. The green-robed attendant and Araya inside the hall were also extremely nervous. Supreme. The green-robed attendant transmitted his voice. Vice President Limo is fierce and tyrannical. The Supreme humiliating him like this, he will definitely not tolerate it. This is called humiliation. Luo Feng smiled as he lifted his cup. You still don't quite understand. At the 100 Flowers banquet, the President, Mi Yang, and Vice President, Limo, of the Blood Python Association were seated next to each other. They initially hadn't paid much attention to outside affairs. But numerous messages transmitted by Duan Moyun annoyed them both. An incident like this happening at the Dream Flower Tower would definitely spread within Huyang City. With the President and Vice President present at Dream Flower Tower, if they acted as if they saw nothing, it would only lead to rumors that the Blood Python Association was fearful. The Blood Python Association was one of the 19 dark forces in Huyang City. The dark forces were overbearing and wild, relying on strength. Without strength, there was no right to control those territories. After all, he is an eternal true god. Have a talk with him, settle this minor issue, President Mu Yang said. All right, I will handle it. Only then did the Vice President Limo order his subordinates to deliver the message. During the message transmission, they both naturally watched from a distance. The Dream Flower Tower Master, Shong Qianyang, and several other interested eternal true gods also spared some thought to pay attention. Since there was no formation to block sound on Luo Feng's side at Orchid Star Hall, they could see and hear everything clearly. If you want to see me, come to me in person. There's no reason for me to visit him. The eternal true gods who were paying attention all heard Luo Feng's words. Exciting. Interesting. Not giving any face to the Blood Python Association at all. These eternal true gods reacted with both shock and delight, preferring not to engage in deadly combat themselves, but witnessing other eternal true gods do so was even more exciting than the 100 Flowers banquet. This unfamiliar eternal true god sure is bold. With both the President and Vice President of the Blood Python Association here, and he still does not show any respect. The Blood Python Association has been rooted in Huyang City for long years. If they tolerate this, it would become the joke of the entire Huyang City. Therefore, the Blood Python Association cannot tolerate it. They must act. Several aware eternal true gods all watched the two from the Blood Python Association. President Mi Yang and Vice President Limo both looked displeased. Vice President Limo said with murderous eyes, "This cannot be tolerated. If we do, we will become the laughingstock of the entire Huyang city. Unlike the 5 great families, we don't have a powerful backing." President Li Yang whispered, "The territories of the Blood Python Association were fought for. The reputation of the Dark Forces was also fought for. Since he shows no respect, let's see what he's truly capable of. I'll check out his background." Limo stood up, "A fool who can't even withstand an illusion technique. I want to see where his confidence comes from." "Be cautious with every eternal true god," President Mi Yang advised. "Don't worry." Limo walked straight outside. "Vice President Limo, everyone is here at my invite for the 100 Flowers banquet," the Dream Flower Tower Master said. "Don't worry about this, Tower Master." Vice President Limo, with every fiber of his being shimmering with a terrifying luster, his presence spreading, walked directly towards Orchid Star Hall. In just a few steps, he crossed the vast distance and arrived in front of the hall. Seeing this, the Dream Flower Tower Master could only follow. With 2 eternal true gods about to clash, it was happening at her Dream Flower Tower. How could she just watch idly? "My newly befriended brother Luo, he is extraordinarily fierce. I wouldn't dare provoke the Blood Python Association, yet he dared to disregard them so blatantly." Shang Qianyang was greatly surprised. The 19 dark forces were all established through bloodshed, causing even the city owner's mansion to be quite wary of them. Lord Bai Wu, who was also a member of the dark forces, knew very well how formidable the Blood Python Association was. The Blood Python Association is not easy to mess with. Thrilling. This is even more interesting than the 100 Flowers banquet. The 2 eternal true gods from the Tsumeng royal family were truly excited. These dark forces, each one is troublesome. Now I want to see what happens to this eternal true god who provoked the Blood Python Association. Their status was high, but they were equally wary of the Blood Python Association. The dark forces generally don't have much background, but their strength is formidable. At that moment, over 10 eternal true gods all looked towards Orchid Star Hall, and the Dream Flower Tower Master hurried over as well. Inside the Orchid Star Hall, the green-robed attendant and Araya both stood in the corner, extremely nervous. "Big trouble's coming," said the green-robed attendant Yulu, visibly panicked, based on her experience living in Huyang City so far. Daring to blatantly slap the face of the Blood Python Association like this, they would certainly retaliate. "Is it because of me?" Araya worried and blamed herself. She also understood that at this point, she was no longer important. "Here they come." In the corner, Morosa's eyes shone as he watched the entrance of the hall. Luo Feng, however, continued to sit leisurely, drinking his wine. The vice president of the guild, Lai Mo, appeared at the entrance of the hall, a menacing aura spreading across him as his blood-red eyes fixed on Luo Feng, grinning. "Didn't Lord Luo he ask me to come visit personally? I'm here now. If you have something to say it quickly." Luo Feng continued to pour himself a drink, too lazy to even glance at him. Seeing this, the vice president Lai Mo laughed in a mixture of anger and amusement. The Dream Flower Tower Master rushed over at the same time, realizing there was no stopping it now. "I heard you're quite arrogant, considering the Moli clan, Dream Flower Tower, and my Blood Python Association beneath you. I wanted to resolve this matter, but who knew you'd be even more mad than I expected." Vice President Lai Mo shook his head. "You should know, things have escalated to a point where they are not easily settled. I'm giving you one last chance to apologize. Pay up 10,000 cosmic sand as an apology, and the Blood Python Association will overlook this. Otherwise, heh. The murderous intent in Vice President Lai Mo's eyes intensified. Hei Duomo, whom Luo Feng had killed earlier, had only a bit more than 10,000 cosmic sand in treasures. Pora, newly ascended eternal true gods couldn't even produce that much. 10,000 cosmic sand was quite a hefty amount. Forcing Luo Feng to pay up so much would definitely save face for the Blood Python Association. Enough with the nonsense, Luo Feng, holding his cup of wine, said softly, "Either start fighting, or get lost." Vice President Lai Mo was stunned. All the eternal true gods watching from a distance were somewhat bewildered. This newly emerged eternal true god, Luo He, was incredibly fierce. Such a fierce and domineering eternal true god was a rare sight in Huyang City. Normally, eternal true gods are quite cautious and do not start fights lightly. Very well. Vice President Lai Mo extended his right hand, and a black staff appeared. Instantly, Vice President Lai Mo's aura exploded, his divine power already igniting, for Luo Feng's disdain had made him incredibly wary. He showed his most proud technique right from the start. Except for not revealing his true body, Vice President Lai Mo had fully unleashed his power. Shatter! Vice President Lai Mo swung the black staff, which, like cleaving through chaos, carried an aura of shattering everything and instantly reached in front of Luo Feng. In terms of strength and skills, Vice President Lai Mo was far superior to He Duomo. But Luo Feng was no longer the Luo Feng who had just arrived at the land of origin. HMPH. Luo Feng gently waved his left hand, his palm like a blade, executing that one move, the blade of life and death. His hand touched the black staff that meant to shatter everything, and Luo Feng, having undergone one round of body refinement and grown to the pinnacle of the perfect divine body, unleashed its full might through his palm. Vice President Lai Mo's blood-colored eyes suddenly bulged round. He felt an unmatched power crushing towards him. The black staff rebounded and struck his body, and a streak of the blade light grazed Vice President Lai Mo's body. Vice President Lai Mo's body couldn't resist at all. In the cycle of creation and destruction, the blade light pierced through his body. Stop! Far away, the Blood Python Association President Mu Yang was shocked but couldn't come to the rescue in time. After all, encounters between eternal true gods happened too quickly. Luo Feng still sat in his original spot, his left hand holding a glowing, true god's heart. A single exchange. The true god's heart of Vice President Lai Mo was now in Luo Feng's palm. Mercy, mercy, the face of Vice President Lai Mo appeared on the surface of the true god's heart, terrified, begging repeatedly. The black staff and some personal treasures flew towards Luo Feng. He fiddled with them a bit with his right hand and then lightly shook his head. "You're rather poor." The shocked Dream Flower Tower Master hurriedly spoke up. "Lord Luo He, please show some mercy. You both are esteemed guests of my Dream Flower Tower." "I'll give the Tower Master face," Luo Feng said while collecting the spoils of war, looking at the true god's heart in his left hand. "Vice President Lai Mo, I'm giving you one last chance as well. Pay 20,000 cosmic sand as an apology, and I'll spare your life. I'm being merciful. Your weapons and treasures are included in the count, you just need to pay an additional 12,000 cosmic sand. Pay, and you live. Don't pay, and you can't blame me," Luo Feng said, looking at the true god's heart in his palm. At this moment, the other eternal true gods attending the 100 Flowers banquet felt an intangible pressure, even some felt their own true gods' hearts trembling. At that moment, they realized, a terrifying figure had arrived in Huyang City. "I'll pay. I'll pay." Luo Feng's palm enclosed the true god's heart, which echoed with a voice, and the face of Vice President Lai Mo that surfaced on it was filled with anxiety and panic. At such a time, the dignity of a strong person was dog shit. Vice President Lai Mo did not want to die at all. "Where is the cosmic sand for the supplementary payment?" Luo Feng asked. "It's with the president has it." The face of Vice President Lai Mo on the true god's heart shouted urgently, "President, President." His voice, imbued with the divine power of an eternal true god-level being, naturally carried far and wide. If not for the formation shielding every corner of the Dream Flower Tower, the sound would have traveled even farther. Whoosh! A figure with black scales had arrived at the doorway of the Orchid Star Hall. It was the Blood Python Association leader, Mu Yang. As the leader of one of the dark forces, although Mu Yang's body was covered with black scales, his aura was subdued, making him seem ordinary. But those with informed sources were well aware that Blood Python Association leader Mu Yang was one of the most formidable beings within Huyang City. His strength was unfathomable, and even the city owner's mansion had suffered losses at his hands. "I will pay the 12,000 cosmic sand to make up for the shortage, and I kindly ask you to spare my brother," Blood Python Association leader Mu Yang said with a smile. "Also, we would like to redeem that scepter weapon. Please name your price." "The Blood Python Association leader is indeed straightforward," Luo Feng remarked, holding the true god's heart in his left hand and casually tossing the scepter weapon with a flick of his wrist. This scepter weapon can count for 6,000 cosmic sand. I haven't even given you the cosmic sand, and brother Luo, you've already returned a weapon. I admire that, I really do. Blood Python Association leader Mu Yang praised with a smile. He could fully predict the consequences of not providing the cosmic sand. Here are 18,000 cosmic sand. The Blood Python Association leader produced a black bottle in his hand, which flew toward Luo Feng. As Luo Feng swept over it with his divine power, he confirmed it contained precisely 18,000 grains, not one more, not one less. Luo Feng caught the black bottle with his right hand and flung the true god's heart with his left. The true god's heart turned into a streak of light and flew into Vice President Limo's body. Limo quickly stood up, now looking at Luo Feng with fear. During the negotiation, the other eternal true gods didn't dare to speak out. They were afraid that any mishap might incite Luo Feng's wrath upon them. Brother Luo, his strength is truly admirable. It's only right that 2,000 cosmic sand go to you, said Blood Python Association leader Mu Yang. We will take our leave from tonight's 100 Flowers banquet. After speaking, the Blood Python Association leader walked out, Vice President Limo followed him, and the Dream Flower Tower Master could only watch from the side. Luo Feng looked at the black bottle in his hand. This president is quite tolerant, Luo Feng thought. Among the more than 10 eternal true gods who participated in the 100 Flowers banquet, based on the intelligence he knew, the most powerful and wealthiest should be none other than Blood Python Association leader Mu Yang. Although the two eternal true gods from the Tsuman royal family had high statuses, the Tsuman royal family within Huyang City had more than 10 eternal true gods, and the secret techniques they cultivated consumed a lot of resources. How much could they have left? But the Blood Python Association leader monopolized power, long exploiting the myriad clans cultivators of Huyang City, so his accumulated wealth was naturally immense. River god Luo, the Dream Flower Tower Master, approached. It's not suitable to stay any longer tonight. Dream Flower Tower Master, I shall take my leave now, Luo Feng said as he got up. The other eternal true gods were watching him from afar, so he couldn't continue to listen to the music. Luo Feng left with Mo Li Meng, and the Dream Flower Tower Master could only follow to see them off, even promising, rest assured, God Luo, we at Dream Flower Tower will take good care of Araya in the future. The Dream Flower Tower Master was indeed somewhat nervous. There was no helping it, having seen Luo effortlessly extract Vice President Limo's true god's heart, she couldn't help being nervous. This Lord Luo is too powerful, the Dream Flower Tower Master watched Luo Feng and his companion leave. He must be among the very top of Huyang City, but why did he lose control under my illusion technique? What an exciting night at the 100 Flowers banquet. The conflict eventually saw the Blood Python Association bowing their heads. The two eternal true gods from the Tsuman clan started chatting and standing up. Whether it was Luo Feng's action or the Blood Python Association leader Mu Yang's compliant compensation, both were intriguing to them. The head of the dark forces bowing and paying? How rare. Lord Luo, his strength is truly terrifying. Did he lose control in the illusion because of a flaw in his spirit, or did he do it on purpose? These eternal true gods, one by one, got up. They no longer had the mood to continue at the banquet. Lord Luo, his strength surpasses mine, Lord Bai Wu commented quietly. Blood Python Association leader is extremely powerful, yet he had to cede. As part of Huyang City's dark forces, Lord Bai Wu certainly understood how fearsome the Blood Python Association leader was. If the Six Lords Alliance's 6 eternal true gods were nearly equal in strength, combining to exert formidable influence, then the Blood Python Association, predominantly, drew its might from the Blood Python Association leader's personal power, with the two vice presidents being far inferior. Whoosh! 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 One by one, these eternal true gods began to leave, discussing among themselves or weighed down with thoughts. Only 2 eternal true gods, Zhong Qianyang and Sang Shueyun, lingered, still enamored by the Dream Flower Tower Master. This brother Luo that I've recently become acquainted with has extraordinary strength. Zhong Qianyang exclaimed. He was even willing to have a drink with me and acknowledge me as a friend. How could someone as strong as him lose control in an illusion technique? Sang Shuaiyun, the winged man, said with a despairing look in his eyes filled with confusion, an eternal true God might have a weak will, but such a powerful eternal true God cannot possibly have a weak will. That's right, whether it's refining the bloodline of exotic beasts or cultivating powerful secret techniques, both require great willpower, Zhong Qianyang said. But he just lost control, Sang Shuaiyun said, we both saw it. Zhong Qianyang was stunned for a moment, then nodded, yes, he indeed lost control just now. I don't understand, Sang Shuaiyun said, his eyes full of confusion. Sometimes, losing control isn't necessarily because the illusion is too strong, Zhong Qianyang said, it might also be because he chose to immerse himself in it. Immerse himself? Sang Shuaiyun turned to look at Zhong Qianyang, is there something he's pursuing in the illusory realm? Zhong Qianyang, catching sight of the Dream Flower Tower Master approaching from afar, immediately brightened up and quickly called out, Tower Master. Sang Shuaiyun's gaze softened a few degrees as he looked towards the Dream Flower Tower Master. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Blood Python Association Headquarters. This time our Blood Python Association has lost face, being utterly outdone by a new eternal true God. Even President Mu Yang had to personally apologize, a gaunt figure couldn't help but say. Who was the other vice president, Mu Lin? This incident happened in the Dream Flower Tower, and so many eternal true gods saw it, it will spread throughout all of Huyang City's powers overnight. Vice President Lai Mo and President Mu Yang both remained very quiet. Lai Mo, is he really that strong? To take away your true god's heart in one move? Vice President Mu Lin pressed on. Would I lie about such a thing? Vice President Lai Mo snapped, embarrassed and furious. Enough. President Mu Yang looked out the window and said, let's put an end to this matter right here. Vice President Mu Lin looked at his fellow clansmen in surprise. We going to let this Luo He, who just popped up from nowhere, keep pushing the Blood Python Association around? A regular eternal true god daring to defy us certainly cannot be tolerated, President Mu Yang said calmly. But for an eternal true god who could take away Vice President Lai Mo's true god's heart in one move, it's not shameful for us to yield and bear with it. President Mu Yang gazed out the window. Moreover, I can tell he was waiting for me to make my move. He lurks in the shadows while I'm in the light. He knows a lot about me, yet I know nothing about him. Of course, I can't make a move. Just wait, once I understand his background, President Mu Yang's eyes were ice cold. I will make him pay the price. So many eternal true gods witnessed this conflict, and as the word spread from 10 to 100, virtually all the well-informed powers within Huyang City received detailed reports of the incident that night. Every faction also memorized the name Luo He. Within a small building in the Flame Wind Pavilion. This Luo He is really interesting, the master of the Flame Wind Pavilion said, looking at the latest report. He lost control to the music and illusion technique of the Dream Flower Tower Master. Yet the next moment, without using any secret treasure weapons, he simply reached out his hand and took the vice president of the Blood Python Association's true god's heart. A figure shrouded in grey mist calmly organizing the report said, he made his move right in front of Blood Python Association's President Mu Yang, clearly prepared for a proper fight. But Mu Yang backed down, bowed his head. Uncle, who do you think is stronger between the two of them? The master of the Flame Wind Pavilion asked curiously. The Blood Python Association has a lot of powers coveting its territory, and the 5 great families have taken drastic actions. But from what we've investigated in the Flame Wind Pavilion, President Mu Yang has survived several assassination attempts and even killed several eternal true gods from the 5 great families. To this day, we still haven't fully figured out his real capabilities, the grey figure said. As for this other Luo He, we know almost nothing about him, he's very mysterious. Who's stronger? Only a fight would reveal that, the figure enshrouded in grey mist said. Knowing President Mu Yang of the Blood Python Association, this matter won't just end like this, the master of the Flame Wind Pavilion said with expectation in his eyes. Inside Primal Chaos Armor No. 3 Superlarge Cave Mansion. Mo Li Meng, looking at the latest intelligence sent by the city owner's mansion, was surprised. This Luo He actually managed to overpower the Blood Python Association. And the city owner's mansion upgraded his rating to grader directly. The city owner's mansion rates each eternal true god from high to low in 4 levels, grade A, B, C, and D. The highest, grade A, represents an eternal true god that not even a dispatched Huyang legion could handle. Inside the Fire Realm restaurant, a secluded little building. These past 2 days, many forces in Huyang City have been visiting Brother Luo He, said Shang Qianyang, sitting opposite Luo Feng, with Suo Zi dutifully serving food and fine wine by their side. As for the servant Morosa, he could only wait outside the building. Quite a few forces have directly come to my cave mansion for visits. When I go to the Dream Flower Tower, similarly, there are forces waiting there as well. That's why I'm hiding out in this Fire Realm restaurant. This little restaurant, at least, is peaceful and quiet. Luo Feng remarked wistfully. Ha ha, the moment you forced the Blood Python Association to bow their heads and make amends, you became one of the few top figures in Huyang City, laughed Shang Qianyang. I don't know how many eternal true gods are envious. As common eternal true gods can't compare to Brother Luo He when it comes to influence. There were profound gaps even among eternal true gods. Disparities in the strength of a godly body, gaps in the quality of weapon secret treasures and armor, differences in secret techniques, levels of laws, variances in bloodline talents, different willpower. Various factors made the disparity staggeringly vast. If I'm not mistaken, the city owner's mansion has likely already upgraded your ranking to Grade A, Shang Qianyang said. Grade A? Luo Feng asked curiously. An eternal true god that a Huyang legion can't do anything against is generally considered Grade A. At that level, the city owner's mansion won't take action lightly either, explained Shang Qianyang. Luo Feng thought for a moment and then said, Huyang legion is led by a top eternal true god, with tens of thousands of true gods of void space and tens of millions of elite true gods controlling the legion mechanical secret treasures. When the legion's power is unified, the force it can unleash already possesses a portion of the primal chaos realm's might. With Brother Luo He's strength, even if you can't resist head-on, you can always employ hit-and-run tactics, making a Huyang legion helpless against you, Shang Qianyang said with a smile. You didn't use any weapon secret treasures, and with just one hand, you captured Vice President Lai Mo's true god's heart. Anyone can see that once you fully unleash your power, you can still contend with a Huyang legion using various secret techniques even if there is a gap. Luo Feng just smiled and said nothing. The Huyang legion is strong head-on? In terms of quantity and purity of divine power, the multitudes of eternal true gods of void space, and masses of true gods all amounted to less than himself. It was merely that their mechanical treasure was somewhat stronger than his own, Shou Wing's. A head-to-head confrontation wouldn't exhaust him but would be something a Huyang legion couldn't bear in terms of the cost. Looking at your smile, you don't seem to take a Huyang legion too seriously, said Shang Qianyang as he raised his cup. To this, we should drink. Drink, Luo Feng replied with a laugh, toasting with him. But Brother Luo He, don't ever underestimate the city owner's mansion. Huyang's 10 great legions, the Huyang Guards. These are just the overt deterrent forces, Shang Qianyang said. This large city, which has been built and refined over endless ages, is one of their real points of reliance. If truly pressed, I'm afraid a primal chaos overlord, or even a godly king might come tearing through space to arrive. I'm not that foolish to provoke the city owner's mansion needlessly, acknowledged Luo Feng. Of course, the entire Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture is the fief of the Marquis of Zhujiang. Who is the Marquis of Zhujiang? Unless there's a major issue, it's unlikely he'd come rushing to Huyang City, continued Shang Qianyang. So as long as you don't challenge the city owner's mansion's rule, there's no need to fear provoking a primal chaos overlord. But remember one thing. Shang Qianyang's expression turned much more serious. Please speak, Brother Shang, said Luo Feng. Never get involved in the conflict between Shi Kingdom and Yu Kingdom, whispered Shang Qianyang. That is the most fearsome whirlpool of Huyang City. Once you get caught in it, no matter how strong you are as an individual, you could be ground into dust. Conflict between Shi Kingdom and Yu Kingdom? Luo Feng asked, curious. Since its establishment, Shi Kingdom has been expanding and encroaching on its neighbors. It now borders our Yu Kingdom, so naturally, there are many conflicts, Zhong Qianyang explained. As a large border city, Huyang has never stopped its covert conflicts. For example, the Zhonyun Commerce Chamber is a commerce chamber of Shi Kingdom. Luo Feng nodded and said, the chairman of the Zhonyun Commerce Chamber visited my cave mansion yesterday, but I didn't pay much attention to him. Simply because the other party was from Shi Kingdom, Luo Feng was unwilling to get too involved. That's the right approach, Zhong Qianyang said. As a large border city, normal trade can't be forbidden by Yu Kingdom. Zhonyun Commerce Chamber acts very respectably on the surface, but Shi Kingdom has long sent a batch of eternal true gods into the city in secret. Whenever Shi Kingdom wishes, they can always summon more powerful forces here, said Zhong Qianyang. This is also the biggest trouble for Huyang City. Someday, if the two divine kingdoms go to war, it would be normal for this place to be ground to dust. Zhong Qianyang sighed and lifted his cup. He had spent most of his life in Huyang City and naturally did not wish to see Huyang turn to ruins. There's nothing we can do about the conflicts between the two divine kingdoms. We can only go with the flow, Luo Feng said, drinking with him. He really liked Zhong Qianyang as a friend, straightforward in character, and when Luo Feng asked about problems with body refinement, Zhong Qianyang didn't beat around the bush. As one of the top artifact refining masters in Huyang City, Zhong Qianyang was much stronger than Luo Feng in artifact refining. With no master to guide him, it was natural that Luo Feng would come across some difficulties in his own understanding of the primal chaos great strength diagram. A few words from Zhong Qianyang, however, could reveal the key points to him. If Luo Feng had immersed himself in research, his solid grasp of the laws would have eventually led him to comprehension, but it would have taken longer and involved some detours. Grateful for the guidance, Luo Feng cherished this friendship deeply. The two of them ate, drank, and chatted, gaining a report on the situation in Huyang City. But more importantly, talking with Zhong Qianyang allowed Luo Feng to gain a deeper understanding of the various forces in Huyang City. Not to mention, this restaurant has its own unique charm, praised Zhong Qianyang, standing up to leave. I like it here too. Their roasted meat is robust enough, said Luo Feng. His perfect divine body was so powerful that ordinary delicacies felt too weak and bland. The two of them talked as they walked out of the little building, and Morosa quickly stowed away the wine pitcher as they did. At that moment, Luo Feng and Zhong Qianyang both saw a woman with a fluffy tail ahead, accompanied by a guard. This is Diaorong Qi from the Diaorong family, the daughter of Diaorong Yang, Zhong Qianyang introduced. I have seen Uncle Zhong, Diaorong Qi said with a smile and a polite bow. Are you here to visit Brother Luo He? Zhong Qianyang asked with a smile, how did you find your way here? Diaorong Qi quickly explained, I heard about the Supreme Lord Luo He being at the Dream Flower Tower and really wanted to visit. Later, I learned from my guard that Supreme Lord Luo He might come to the Fire Realm restaurant. Luo Feng watched the scene with interest. The guard beside the woman was none other than the young true god, Suo Yun, whom he had saved from a tribal squad before. Supreme, Suo Yun hastily explained with respect, I share a residence with Brother Suo Zi, and during a conversation, I accidentally learned of your visit to the Fire Realm restaurant. Quite the coincidence, Luo Feng said, looking at the woman with the fluffy tail, Diaorong Qi, what brings you to find me? To request mentorship. Her eyes shining brightly, Diaorong Qi said, I wish to take you, Supreme, as my master. Your father is an eternal true god, and yet you come to take me as your master. Luo Feng looked at her. My father excels in alchemy but is not skilled in combat, Diaorong Qi said with a respectful bow. I am willing to offer 5,000 cosmic sands, merely hoping to be accepted as your disciple. Luo Feng shook his head and looked at Zhong Qianyang, Brother Zhong, let's go. Without trying to persuade him, Zhong Qianyang understood that accepting a disciple was a very serious matter, and he flew off with Luo Feng. Supreme, Diaorong Qi called out urgently, please give me a chance, an opportunity to be tested. Dreaming of becoming a disciple of my master? Pretty wishful thinking. Morosa glanced at Diaorong Qi and then followed Luo Feng as they left. Diaorong Qi stood still, then after a moment, turned and instructed as she walked away, Suo Yun, you continue to stay at the Fire Realm restaurant. As soon as you spot Supreme Lord Luo He, inform me immediately. Yes, the guard Suo Yun responded respectfully, watching as his mistress departed. Suo Yun, Suo Zi approached. How could you carelessly spread the word that the Supreme is here? The guard Suo Yun looked at his brother, retorting, my mistress wanted to visit the Supreme and bore no ill will. Why shouldn't I speak of it? We run a restaurant business and we should guard the privacy of our esteemed customers, Suo Zi admonished. I told you in confidence because you are my brother. You didn't even let me know before telling your mistress the news. Suo Yun scoffed, the Supreme didn't blame me, yet you, as my brother, are blaming me. The Supreme may be amiable and not blame you, but if you encounter someone with a bad temper, you'd be done for. Suo Zi said urgently, in Huyang City, especially in matters involving eternal true gods, caution can never be excessive. Being cautious all the time, when can we make a breakthrough? Suo Yun said coldly, we must seize opportunities when they come. Just for this piece of news, I've already been granted a secret technique. Suo Zi was taken aback. Having come from their tribe to Huyang City, and after identifying their bloodlines, they sought to acquire secret techniques suitable for themselves. But good and suitable secret techniques were prohibitively expensive. Suo Yun has already acquired a secret technique. Suo Zi felt mixed emotions at the moment. On one hand, he was happy for his brother, yet he could also feel the gap between them widening. He was still an apprentice, painstakingly saving up to purchase secret techniques with primal chaos crystals, anticipating a long and arduous process ahead. The clan leader said, one must be cautious and prudent in Huyang City. No rush, I have a long life ahead, I can spare the time. Suo Zi suppressed his emotions. Blood Python Association Headquarters. These past 2 days, the most famous person in all of Huyang City has been that Luo He. Vice Chairman Mu Lin shook his head. Mention of Luo He will always bring up our Blood Python Association. Can you shut up? Vice President Lai Mo snapped irritably. I don't care about these rumors, said Chairman Mu Yang, frowning. What bothers me is that we paid out 20,000 cosmic sands in compensation. I am too poor now, every single cosmic sand is precious to me. Vice Chairman Mu Lin and Vice President Lai Mo looked at each other. We've both run out, Vice Chairman Mu Lin quickly stated. Chairman, whatever I could lend, I already did, and this time you paid 18,000 cosmic sands for me, which means you still owe me 5,000 cosmic sands, Vice President Lai Mo said. Both vice chairmen were somewhat puzzled by the continuous poverty of Mu Yang, the chairman who controlled most of the association's resources, making them apprehensive to lend him anything more. This episode ends here.